Get water, get wine, get coffee, get tea, whatever you do, get something too. Life, no balance. You know why I said that. I am sharing this particular story after listening to the sermon by Pastor Aaron. Marriage is a business. And he said a lot of things, but this particular thing he said just, I've always had this at the back of my mind you, but like it just made sense to share the story today. We had these neighbors, they were not Nigerians. We all grew up together. Way back when I was very young. The dynamics was the man, his wife, he had 3 girls and a boy. However, his wife was super quiet. Usually we would have this, estate meeting. Every time this meeting would go on, she would never say a word. I remember they would always ask her, like, what's her opinion? And she would say, whatever my husband says. She was so sweet, you know. Her kids were a bit older, so I didn't get much, opportunity to interact with them because they were way older than me. However, my mom took a liking. Every time my mom made something special, something nice, she would always ask me to go give her. So one day I went to the house to give her, I think I went to give her like our actual native soup. And she was bawling, she was crying. She was alone. And this woman was crying. You know, this kind of this kind of cry that comes from the stomach. That you know, she had left the door open, unfortunately. So I knocked once. As a child, I knocked once. Nobody came to the door, so I just opened, clicked the handle, and it opened. So I entered inside, and I walked straight inside. I walked in on her crying. I remember asking her, "Is she okay? What's happening?" Of course, she wouldn't tell me I was a child. So she said, "She's fine. She's fine." She was like, "My mommy asked me to come and give you this food." She said, "Oh, thank you so much." So she was trying to, clean her tears and get herself back. She took the food from me. I said, "I will call my mommy for you." She said, "No, no, 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 don't call your mom." But too late. So I ran out and I ran to my mom. I was like, "Mommy," I called the woman's name. She's crying. She's crying very bad. My mom's like, "She's crying. What do you mean she's crying? Did you spill the food on her because the food is hot?" I'm like, "No, no, no." I walked in on her. She was crying and she's crying very badly. My mom said, "Okay." So my mom left and went to see why she was crying. I remember my mom going in. It was still bright outside when my mom went into the house. When she came out, it was dark. That's to tell you how long my mom stayed with her. In between, I would go outside to peek to see, because my mom left an instruction to not come there. I had a nanny staying with me, so she had left instruction with the nanny not to allow me to come there. So every time I would tell the nanny, "Sarah, go and check why my mom is taking so much time." She's like, they're fine. Like your mom said, don't go, But I was so curious because I've never seen that woman not happy. As young as I was, I really wanted to know why she was crying. Fast forward now, my mom comes back home. So I'm trying to ask her why the lady was crying. She's not telling me anything. After a while, I think almost 6 months later, the woman fell ill and she was taken to the hospital. That was the last time I saw her. Of course, life happened. I'd even forgotten about that incident because I'd grown up and everything. And then one fateful day, my mom was talking to me. She's trying to admonish me and, advise me. And then she called my attention back to that lady. And she's like, "Do you remember this family? This lady, this happened, that happened." I'm like, "Yeah, I do. Actually, you never said what happened to that woman, why she was crying." And she said, "Let me tell you what happened to her. Get ready." This woman, God, like whatever we do on earth, please, Mia Iberi. This woman got married to a husband as a virgin. Virgin means she had not had intercourse with anyone else besides her husband. Like I said, remember, I said from the beginning of the story that they were not Nigerians. She got married to her husband, and from their country, they moved to Nigeria. The man got to Nigeria and became so promiscuous. But he had this facade where it wasn't that open that he was promiscuous, but he was promiscuous. He contracted a disease. She also contracted the same disease. This is where the story gets a bit tricky. Now, he got to find out that he had that disease. Okay, listen, he, on the other hand, was taking medication for it. The disease is HIV. He was taking medication, but guess what? He never for once told his wife that he had the disease. From when she contacted the disease to that day she was crying, it was already too late. It had developed from HIV to AIDS. She was now officially dealing with a full-blown AIDS. She fell ill a few weeks before that day and started feeling funny, so she decided to go to the hospital. She got to the hospital and they ran some checks and they told her that she needed to come back with her husband, that there was something they wanted to tell her. So she was like, no, whatever it is you want to tell me, if it's about my body, you can tell me without my husband. So the doctor is like, okay, this is the situation. You have this. Now, the reason why we want you to come with your husband is so that in case your husband doesn't have it, he can start, the medication to prevent him from having it. And you guys can know what to do. So she said there's no way she would have it and the husband would not have it because she got married as a virgin. According to my mom, she didn't confront the man for at least a month. She called her family back home, She told everyone what was happening and told them not to say anything. And then eventually she confronted the husband. And he said, yeah, he had known that he had it and it was on medication. You had known that you had HIV and you were on medication. The woman you got married to as a virgin, you knew she was at risk of having it. You infected her and you didn't have the common decency to also allow her to get a chance at life by telling her so she could also take the medication to prevent it from becoming a full-blown AIDS. My mom told me this thing, I was already an adult. And the entire week, my mood was damaged. I didn't, like, that word damaged was exactly how I felt. What level of wickedness? I don't know. This life is very complicated. That is why it will never make sense to me that we would choose to do it without God. It would never make sense to me. At least commit your life into the person who created the world, and I'm short of words. Just talking about this, I'm just reliving that moment and it's not even funny. I'm saying this to say one thing, that everyone should go and watch this message. If God does not help us, Okay,